Hey everybody, Michael Snyder, Pacific Northwest Weather Watch. Today is June 16th, and today we're taking a look at this cinnamon roll little feature out here, this little low pressure system out here. It's going to spin some moisture up over us today, bringing some showers, possibly some sun breaks as well too. There is a thunderstorm threat risk for some of the Pacific Northwest the next 3 days, and for today that could extend up towards Bellingham, maybe some of the areas of western Washington. A very isolated chance for a lightning strike. Mainly it's going to be North Cascades, Okanagan Highlands, and the higher terrain in northeast Washington up into British Columbia today. And you can still see Hurricane Blas still going on down there on the mid-level water vapor loop here off the Mexico coastline here. Intertropical convergence zone doing its thing. It's that time of year. Now, taking a look a little bit closer, you can see our cinnamon roll right off the coastline of Washington here, Vancouver Island. Here's Oregon here. You can see a few sun breaks, mainly eastern portions. There are some through Washington and Western Oregon today, but I don't know how much we're going to destabilize. We could destabilize enough just for an isolated lightning strike, but mostly northern areas here as the Cape builds up a little bit, convective available potential energy. Now, looking around the rest of the country, there are some heat advisories and some excessive heat warnings for parts of the Midwest, and that heat advisory extends all the way down to the southeast, all the way down into Florida. Getting some blowing dust, some high wind watch, and some windy conditions out here through Nevada into Utah. Red flag warnings in effect out there also for fire danger. Now, looking at day one, you can see we do have that risk for North Cascades, Okanagan Highlands on in through Idaho and northwest Montana. And yeah, you can see they don't really include Western Washington, Oregon, or much of the Cascades for day one. Day two, that changes a little bit. You can see they introduced that risk of thunderstorms going on through the Oregon Cascades, does include Medford. And you can see a little bit of a marginal risk for a severe storm made in the Idaho Panhandle into extreme northwest Montana. Day three, mainly eastern portions here, does include Medford again, down into the southern Oregon Cascades, eastern portions, and again, a marginal risk for a severe storm here through portions of Idaho and northwest Montana. Now, looking at Seattle, we had topped out at 62 yesterday, 63 the day before. We've been well below average for a while now. We're going to continue to do that for the next few days. And it looks like tomorrow we might actually be up to 15 degrees below normal for SeaTac here, where it might get stuck in the 50s for high temperatures. This is the wrap. This is showing the instability that will build during the day. It does show a little bit through western Washington here. So an isolated lightning strike is not completely out of the question, but again, should be mostly confined to the northern Cascades into eastern British Columbia and portions of Idaho and northwest Montana. Now, this is looking at the NAM 3KM, showing the temperatures today. You can see Seattle 68, Portland 63, eastern Washington a little bit warmer here. The coastline nice and cool. Looks like just into the upper 50s. Now, as we go through Friday, the cloud cover is going to be pretty good over western Washington. Precip will be ongoing much of the day here as we go through Friday. And look, we only warm up towards the mid 50s for Seattle, upper 50s for the Willamette Valley, a little bit warmer as always in eastern Washington and eastern Oregon this time of year. And as we go through Saturday, you can see we warm back up a little bit, but just into the low 60s for Seattle, maybe around 60 for Portland. So well below average will be the norm here for the next few days. We'll take a look at the extended here in a moment. This is the European 060 run. It does show some lightning potential for portions of western Washington into portions of Vancouver Island, British Columbia, and again, North Cascades, Okanagan Highlands, Northeast Washington. And as we go through Friday, you can see that gets introduced to the Oregon Cascades as we keep some of the thunderstorm potential going for portions of Idaho and Northwest Montana, even a slight chance for a severe storm. As we go through the day Saturday, you can see some of these showers building up, mostly eastern portions, British Columbia, and on in through Montana and Idaho. Now, looking at our low pressure system out here, it is pretty weak. You can see it does extend some showers up over the region today, but we also have some possible sun breaks. We might warm up to the upper 60s here in Seattle again, as we mentioned earlier. And you can see Friday, the precipitation really picks up across the region, especially western portions of Oregon, Washington, as it looks like it's going to be rainy most of the day tomorrow. So pretty cool and rainy. It's going to be like a very early spring or late winter day here across the Pacific Northwest. And you can see some of this precipitation as we go through Saturday, extending through eastern portions, and British Columbia continues to get some off and on precipitation as well. Now, taking a look here, I wanted to show you guys this northern hemisphere. You can see Greenland here. Here's the North Pole. Here's Africa. Here's North America. And here's Russia. You can see the diurnal cycle going on here. So as this kind of rolls through, you can see how the land masses heat up more during the daytime versus the oceans, which are much more consistent temperature-wise. Water holds more heat, so it does not fluctuate as much during these diurnal cycles. You can see the daytime heat up and then the nighttime come and cool things down. You can see the Himalayas here too, the higher terrain here, as it stays pretty chilly. But you can see Africa warm up nicely, then cool down during the nighttime too. And you can see the Greenland ice sheet here that stays pretty chilly as we go through the diurnal cycles. But you can see this warm up all the way into Canada and Alaska. It is almost summertime here. Meteorological summertime does start June 1st, but we are getting close to June 21st as well. So that's the reason for that. You can see the convection roam around the tropical regions here. You can see some of these outflows from these thunderstorms just kind of moving around in the warmth of the tropics down there. And this is looking at 850 millibar temperature. I'm just going to go ahead and put this in motion on my own here. And you can see the trough that's off our coastline now. And you can see some of this heat building up over the Intermountain West here. And then you can see our next trough that's scheduled to move down. The European is much more persistent and stronger with this trough as it moves down in through next week. And the GFS is a little bit different solution. We'll take a look at that here in a moment as well. And this is our visible satellite imagery forecast here in the European. You can see that cinnamon roll feature down here kind of slide down the coastline and really bring this moisture up during the day Friday and keeping us in the rainy day for Seattle and portions of western Oregon, as well as there is some thunderstorm chances, east portions mainly on in through Friday. And you can kind of see this next trough as it starts to slide down through southeast Alaska and sets up shop again off our coastline as we go on in through next weekend here too. So we wouldn't want to have a nice weekend here in June now, would we? We just got to keep these troughs going. This is the year. It's going to be a memorable early portion of the summer at least too. So here's the European 18,000 feet, 500 millibars. You can see the trough kind of hanging out on the west coast here. Tries to bring some ridging in. Then you notice it's not bringing that trough down just as quickly. So I think we might get a little bit warmer than what the ensembles are saying. But again, it kind of gets aggressive with this troughing as we go towards next weekend and sets up shop right off our coastline here. The GFS disagrees with this a little bit here. Here we go with that trough that's plaguing us now and bringing precipitation. Builds that ridge up pretty well off our shoreline here. And then this trough, you'll notice, is not as strong. It doesn't set up as well off the coast of Washington as on the European run here. So there are some disagreements here between the GFS and the European. I'm going to update the GFS here, and we're going to run this out a little bit further. So there's that trough, and eventually does open this up over western Washington, but at a little bit later on into the weekend. So I spoke a little bit too soon there because that GFS is getting pretty aggressive with this trough as it moves through the Pacific Northwest through next weekend. I wanted to show you guys this too, the Drought Monitor. So this is current, and you can see just as May 17th, a month ago, look at how we've really erased a lot of exceptional drought through Oregon. We've erased that severe drought through much of Washington. Actually, all of Washington is free of severe drought now. So we are doing some good work here with the precipitation. Stream levels are getting higher. The water table is getting better. And yeah, it's good to see this, even though some places like California, you can see that they've added some exceptional drought. And some places in Montana, the exceptional drought has been added as well. But for Washington, Oregon, things have been improving. Oh, there is still some exceptional droughts for small portions of the east slopes of the Cascades. And some extreme drought does exist for much of eastern Oregon at this point. So taking a look at the seasonal temperature outlook, this is June 16th, July through August. Equal chances. You can see eastern Washington, Oregon, even southern Oregon has a little bit of above average probabilities for above average temperatures. Now this is for August, September, October. Look at all of Washington, Oregon are included in this, and this would extend up into British Columbia as well. And again, this was issued today. This is for August, September, October seasonal temperature outlook. So we are leaning to be above normal temperature, September, October, November 2022. You can see southern Oregon starts to get better probabilities. And again, Washington, Idaho, and Oregon are all included in that. October, November, December, again, above average all the way through January. But then as you see, as we go through December, January, February, equal chances across the region. Here you can see California still in the warmth. And we go January, February, March. But now watch this. As we go February, March, April, there are some signs that we're going to be in a chilly spring pattern again next year, mainly March. But that's really the only section of the seasonal temperature outlook that shows us below average here. So anyway, take that with a grain of salt. That's just kind of long-range ocean patterns, teleconnections, ENSO, and a La Nina pattern outlook there. So take that with a grain of salt. Just something interesting that they put out today. Now look at Seattle, Tacoma today, probably mid upper 60s. We cool off Friday, then we start the slow, gradual increase here as we go through early next week. We'll see how much this ridging comes in and how aggressive that troughing is as we go through early to mid next week, really. Now, checking out the GFS, it shows that trough hanging around, but then it shows us warming up close to normal temperatures here for a while, then even above normal as we get into next weekend here. So we'll have to see how this goes. Again, there is that disagreement between the GFS and the European there on into next weekend as far as temperatures are concerned. So yeah, there is a very slight chance for a thunderstorm, mainly Portland north, but again, most of that's generally going to be North Cascades, Northeast Washington, into British Columbia today. And then on into tomorrow, we're going to have good precipitation across much of the region. Going to be very cold. Probably won't make it to 60 degrees for Seattle, for example. So we could be up to 15 degrees below normal for tomorrow. And then we'll start the gradual warm up on Saturday. And we'll see just how much this ridging kicks in as we go through early next week and see how much we're going to dry out. But yeah, so enjoy that. If you guys are liking this rain, you're going to like tomorrow especially. So anyway, we will do this again tomorrow, and we'll take a look at this low pressure system. We'll see if any thunderstorm chances get introduced to any other portions of the Pacific Northwest. Take a look at that ridging, then we'll take a look at just how aggressive the models are going to be with that trough dropping down in towards later next week. So hope you guys are having a good day. I'll probably go out and film the low tide again today. It's going to be similar to yesterday, not quite as low, but still very unusually low tide again today. I think it's at 12:58 p.m. I want to say. I could be a little bit off on that, but I'll go out and film that again today. It was pretty interesting seeing so much of the tide pools and so much of the Puget Sound coastline exposed. Pretty interesting. So I will talk to you guys tomorrow. We'll do this again.